In Lesson 2, we're going to talk about pricing and project management. Regardless of whether you plan to execute each step of the remodel on your own or seek out a competent expert to take over some of the management work, you'll need to do some comparison of people and prices along the way. To do that well, you need to track information and make sure that you're comparing apples to apples when you make your decisions. Below this video, you'll find a link to a series of invaluable spreadsheets that I have used throughout my design career and in my own home improvement projects. You are planning to get multiple bids for your work, right? Tell me that you are. Here's the thing. It is literally insane to skip over the essential step of comparison pricing when you're having work done on your home. When someone tells me they already have a contractor in mind and aren't planning to seek out other advice, it generally goes poorly. Seriously, you wouldn't buy the first car you saw an ad for. You wouldn't buy a pair of jeans without trying them on first. Why would you let someone charge you tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to mess with your home without taking them for a test spin? That's what the bid process does. It's not just about dollar value, but about a chance to see how a person or company communicates, meet them one or several times, hear their input into your design ideas, and get a sense for their whole operation and vibe. Yes, it is a pain, and yes, it does slow down the process slightly just at the moment when you want to be going full steam ahead, but you can't skip it without regrets. Still, doing it the right way doesn't have to be a painful process. I recommend that you pause this video now and open up that file linked below. The spreadsheets there are all formatted for printing, so you can choose to make hard copies to look through and fill in at least partly by hand, or you can open them in their current form, a Google Sheets file with several tabs along the bottom, or you can download them and open them in the spreadsheet application you prefer, Excel, Numbers, or another program. If you choose to use the spreadsheets as a Google Sheet, simply save a copy of the file with a new name to be able to edit your own version. Go ahead. I'll wait. Okay, have you got them in front of you? Great. The first tab is labeled Blank Area Idea Index. It's fairly self-explanatory. It will be most useful for people who are planning a Level 1 or Level 2 remodel. If you're taking on a Level 3, fully contractor managed, you might still find this useful for brainstorming ideas before you get on to the rest of the house. I'll let you figure this one out on your own. The next tab, Blank Contractor Tracking Sheet, is a comprehensive way to keep track of who you've reached out to and for what purpose. You might use this if you are looking to several general contractors to take on your entire project, but it will prove even more useful to anyone planning a self-managed remodel. Once you have a call placed to a handful of electricians, plumbers, framers, and drywall companies, it starts to feel challenging to keep track in your head of who's gotten back to you, who has not, and what each of them have said. You can use this spreadsheet, or another format, to track your contact with each contractor. You might make a page for this in your remodel bullet journal, or keep a note of it in a Trello board instead. Regardless of how you track it, though, do make sure you note down each time you check in with a contractor, who said what, and what will be needed for the next step from you or from them. Even the best contractors are not always the best communicators. Here's how I see it. If someone seems truly impossible to get a hold of, or repeatedly drops the ball in your correspondence, that might be a sign that they're not the company for your project. But take this with a grain of salt. Many subcontractors at the residential scale are not spending fees that you pay them on a full-time secretarial staff, nor do you want them to. So as you seek out pricing information at the start of a project, you're going to leave a lot of voicemail and get called back by people taking a break from a job, traveling from one site to another, or dealing with their office work at the end of a long day on different job sites. It's best if you are keeping track of who needs to call you back and what information has been shared, rather than hoping that they will be best at that. The next two forms deal with project scope. I've included a sample scope document filled in and a blank for you to fill in. Here's how this works. Basically, any project, large or small, you will need to have a written scope document that you can share with each person you get a bid from. You don't have to be a professional designer to write a clear scope of work. Just make a clear and concise list of all the things that you want to remove, add to, or change in your home in one spot. The sample list here includes an entire project, the kind you would give to several prospective general contractors. If you're hiring subcontractors, you might want to prepare a separate scope of work for each subspecialty, one that only lists relevant electrical work for the electrician, a separate listing plumbing items for plumbers, etc. But it also helps for that kind of subcontractor to have an idea of the whole project, so you could give them a complete scope, but highlight or bold the elements that are relevant to them, so they don't have to waste their time sifting through or risk missing something that's important to them. Most residential contractors will want to also come see the house in question, and they may take detailed notes, make sketches of dimensions, or take pictures. but I still want you to prepare and hand or email them your own written scope document so that you can point to it later as a common area of communication between each bidder. That scope of work form goes hand in hand with the project bid form. Again, this is aimed at people looking to compare general contractors. If you're getting bids for smaller component projects, you might decide whether this feels necessary or not. I will say most general contractors will not wish to fill out this form to give you a bid. You can choose to demand that they do, or simply tell them that you're planning to use this form to compare and ask them to itemize their bid to include these categories. Give them a copy of the form anyway so they know what kind of information and detail you're looking for. In the end, when you have everyone's bid back, you can input the answers into the bid comparison form and see how they stack up against each other. It's fine, more than acceptable, to call back and ask for clarification if someone has stated their bid as a lump sum, or you can simply divide their larger numbers into smaller categories, somewhat randomly. The bottom line is that you want to be able to see what each general contractor thinks his electrician will need, what her framing team will need, and what the cost of cabinets they might provide will be. This comparison can prove vastly illuminating and sometimes turn up either incomplete research process on the part of one of the contractors, or the fact that one of their electricians seems to be planning to charge twice as much as all the others. Asking for a review of those items may end up saving you thousands of dollars. Having a broken down view of all the separate costs will let you see if there are some parts of the project that seem to be fixed, or others where there is a big discrepancy. In that case, you should ask for more information. While it isn't appropriate to tell one contractor exactly what another contractor has bid, you can easily tell the higher bidders that someone else has offered the same area for $3,000 less and ask why. Sometimes the lower cost is a real savings, but other times it reflects the fact that someone forgot to address a part of the scope. You'll also find, by the way, wild discrepancies in the ways that contractors state how they will charge you for overhead and project management. I've assumed 5% for each of those, that's common, but some companies will charge a combined fee or no explicit overhead. They'll simply build it into other costs. Do assume that the general contractor is charging you a fee or a percentage for their management. And know that that's fair. You're hiring them not just to accomplish the physical work, but to take the mental strain of caring about it off your plate. Anyone who has ever self-managed a project knows the value of the work in this. This is also a good time for me to tell you that the lowest bid in a project may not be your best choice. Now, don't go looking for the most expensive contractor, but do pay attention to more factors than the bottom line. You want a good rapport with your general contractor, and you want to work with someone who has a solid history of delivering good work on time to satisfied customers. Be sure each of your contractors has given you references or a way to check up on their background, and then do follow through and check up. Above all in this, you're looking for a good fit. You want to hire a general contractor or a series of subcontractors who seem to understand your goals, who have done good work in the past, who communicate with you clearly throughout the process, and whom you wouldn't mind having in your home over extended periods of time. A spreadsheet can take you only so far, but I hope that these sample forms will help you get a framework that you can use to create good bid processes. Customize these documents to your own purpose, invent your own, and in the end, trust your feelings more than the numbers. But do make sure you have all the numbers in front of you before you make a final decision. Most of all, have fun with your project management. This is about the journey as much as it can be about the destination. Reach out in the Facebook group with any questions you might have about how to use the management spreadsheets.